everyone, to another episode of the XP Billionaires podcast. As you can probably tell from the sound of my voice, I have once more successfully wrested the reins of control from Rayfe's clutches.
It's only temporary.
Yep. Yeah, well, we're actually doing this for the second time because Rayfe forgot to hit record the first time, so maybe it's a good thing.
Point, maybe you should introduce our guest.
Yeah, right? I was just about to get there. So, I'm sure you probably just heard, we have a very special guest with us today, our good friend Mel. How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Good. It's weird doing this again, but let's do this again.
Normal reintegration of topics.
Yeah, normal reintegration of topics.
I'm very excited to talk about things that make me sad sometimes.
Yep, that's pretty much what this episode is all about. Things that make us sad sometimes. Games specifically that make us sad sometimes. Like games that we love, but also make us sad because they were so close.
So close.
So close. Some closer than others. We'll get into that. So, Sky and I have been wanting to do this episode for a long time because the topic is something we frequently discuss and get mad about. But we decided to save it for June because it's Pride Month. Happy Pride to those celebrating.
Yay, happy Pride.
Pride.
Huzzah!
The topic is queerbaiting in RPGs and how silly it is. So, broad strokes, for those who are unaware, queerbaiting is when a character is heavily implied to be queer, like heavily implied, and then miraculously at one point, for some reason is contrived why that wasn't the case, usually by recontextualizing the previous interactions in some way to mean the character was straight all along. Womp womp. Oh, God. It's not necessarily playing somebody's sexuality or gender identity for laughs. That's an entirely separate thing called being shitty.
Mm-hmm. It's a technical word for it.
Technically. Yep. So is there anything we want to add to that definition before we move forward, just so that we are, all on the same page about what we're talking about?
No, that covers it.
Sounds good.
Awesome possum. So, now that we've defined queerbaiting, let's identify some examples that really piss us off. And, Atlus, we love you, but, take a seat, because you're going to be here a while. Why don't we start out with our guest, because, unless I'm putting you on the spot.
No, absolutely. I'm a huge Persona fan, and it is so painful to watch how it is handled.
Yep. So, Mel, why don't you start us off?
Sure. So for fans of Persona 4 specifically, the obvious example, which I'm sure everyone can think of, because it's honestly probably the one where, when I mentioned I was going to be recording on this, everyone was like, oh, so you're going to be talking about kanji. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, that was the one that came to my mind as well.
Right? Unfortunately. And it sucks because he's such a good character. And, Troy Baker does such an amazing job with the translation and, with the bringing so much to the character. We've got the anime, there's so much going for it and going for him, and then they just take that entire dungeon where he talks about his sexuality and struggling with his feelings and not understanding his gender or his sexual identity, and then we just get nothing. Oh no, it's not actually about that at all. It's just about feeling nervous around people,
especially in the context of the one I know Sky is going to bring up, which is Naoto. It's oh, good! This, spoiler alert, folks, if you haven't played Persona 4, just, be prepared for this. Naoto was a girl all along, so I'm not gay! Because I was always attracted. She was always a girl. She was just dressing like a boy and presenting herself as a boy, and...
Right? Not even to go yet into the part where Naoto, you can basically tell Naoto to be a girl so that you can date them. Right? No, you weren't really dealing with gender dysphoria at all. You were just a girl who didn't know how to deal with male examples in media.
Yeah, and that actually Kanji's Dungeon really pissed me off specifically, because you had this, it was so clearly him dealing with, sex. Mm-hmm. It's a fucking bathhouse, an all-male bathhouse with, giant muscle man, in a towel, fucking shadows at the end,
Yeah.
It's quite clear that that's what it was meant to be, but then it's just so we have all this complex character development and the struggle this character is having. Okay, we'll never touch this again.
Yep.
Only to say that the only time we're ever going to touch this again is when Naoto's gender is revealed, and he's like, wow, cool, I'm not gay, and then it never goes anywhere else besides that. Also, by the way, I am going to shit on Persona 4 just a touch for, like, playing sexuality for laughs a little bit, because there are a few scenes in which, like, Kanji does something extremely feminine. Like, he loses his swimsuit at the beach, and he covers, like, his nipples and his crotch with seaweed and, like, sparkles. Like, yeah,
Right.
there are a few points where it does that, and I'm like, okay, come on, guys. And this is after Naoto's already, like, a girl, and yet he's still displaying all these, like, really stereotypical behaviors, which, not great, but it's like, you've already, like, put that in the like, what? Pick one! Is he gay or not?
You're doing something problematic, but you're doing it as if he was problematically gay, and you aren't even being consistent about that.
Exactly! I was just like, okay, well, like, I'm mad at you, but now I'm mad at you for two things, and in the middle, I'm also mad because you're fence sitting.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen, there's a really good comic parody that somebody made of the Persona 4 games, and there's a version that they've done where they've recorded voiceover for it and animated it. It's by him Daisy, Hiim Daisy, and it's hilarious. But they go through Tanji's dungeon, and he goes through it all, and it's like, but I'm still not gay, and the narrator's just like, yep, like just so just like, yep, that's all you get.
That's all you get. That is the entire line for this whole game, is still not gay. And then everyone just sort of sits around and, like, gestures to all of Kanji, like, come on.
Yeah.
Even worse for Persona 4, Yusuke. I'm going to bring it up because initially Yusuke was going to be romanceable, and they backed the fuck off at the last minute. And the dialogue option in there is still there. You have a dialogue option to tell him at some point when he's in your room that your, like, porno stash is just muscle magazines. And he's totally okay with it. That's fine. But you have the option of even, like, saying... You have the option of playing the main character as if he's bisexual or gay, and you can't act on it.
Right, and then instead they do this whole, like, gay fear thing, where it's like, I can't be alone with you in a tent, because what if you, like, attack me or something?
Mm-hmm.
Because clearly all gay, bisexual, non-heterosexual people are just violent criminals.
Oh, of course.
Which is a whole other issue.
Yeah, it's a whole other issue.
Ugh.
I mean, at least the bathhouse was portrayed as somewhat more, like, consensual, and everyone there is having a good time. Like, Kanji's actual dungeon. But
yeah,
still, it was like, wow, you are, like, could they have hit the nail on the head any fucking harder?
it's like somebody, like, designed the dungeon, and then somebody was writing it, and they were like, but he's straight, right? And they're like, no. Like, it's like two different people.
Yeah, that's what it reads like. Or it reads like there were two writers who disagreed about everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you had this one writer who was like, yeah, Kanji can be gay and you can totally romance Yusuke, and, like, the other writer was like, no fucking way, and the other writer won.
And then
Naoto. Yeah, let's get into Sky's thing, because that's actually incredibly important. It's rage-inducing, but it's also, like, relevant to our current discussion about Kanji, because Naoto is pretty much the catalyst for all of this.
So, I'll start with the top. From the top. Naoto, I love her. I love her as a character. She's interesting. I immediately identified with her. I loved seeing Naoto do this, having this whole gender ambiguous, assigned female but mask of center presentation thing going on. And then to when I actually went to romance her and did her social link and all that stuff, the backtracking of them having her realize she was only going mask of center to fit in as what people expected out of a detective.
Right? That was the big thing. It's like, detectives are men. I'm like, whoa! There's a lot to unpack there, but let's just throw away the whole suitcase.
Yeah, apparently.
Like, That's really sexist to start.
This is not something people do, at very least to the extent in which she did.
Not lightly, no.
No.
No, and I really hate the if you go into the romance kind of plot with the main character, like you're just basically like, I think you look better as a girl, and then like it's just like,
Yes.
okay, I guess I'll be a girl for you then. Like
That is disgusting. That is so disgusting, and I was so mad.
And I forget what the dialogue is because I was trying to like do the romance, and I was like, I think it was like, I like you better as a girl, and like I want you to be like who you want to be or something like that. And then I picked the one that was like, be yourself, and then it was like, you are now locked out of the romance plot. And I'm like,
What?
what?
Be yourself is the much more romantic option.
Right?
Jesus Christ.
The thing that makes this especially painful is that you only see this part after you've already deeply invested in the character.
Right? Like 9 links in.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay, NB person. I want you as your assigned gender. Like, you guys can't see the face I'm making, but it's not a positive one. And honestly, if I was dating a guy and he said that to me, well, the next thing I would do would be like, all right, cool. So, like, just like, here's the garbage can, get in here. This is where you belong now. Just hop right in and stay there until I can call the whole man disposal service.
And
Yes,
like,
the entire man.
And like, here's the weird thing. So I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, like I could think of less examples of queer baiting in video games compared to like TV. And I was like, I wonder if it's partly because like you get to choose your own adventure a bit in video games, right? So if someone's like, I played Kanji's Dungeon and I don't want to play with a gay character, like first off, you suck. But second off, like you probably won't learn more about Kanji, right? Like, so then it feels weird to put the gay stuff first and then be like, no, 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 he's not, into the stuff when you know him more.
Yeah, like, it's like, yeah, so we're gonna discourage people who would feel uncomfortable with this from even going down this road, which would make them only more comfortable with where we decided to put him at the very end.
Right? Like you have the time now to explain how he got where he is, to understand his life and his mother and his relationship with his father and all these things. And like, then no, it just undoes everything.
Yeah, that's pretty much like Persona 4 is, yeah, we're just like, it's like they had someone write the beginning, like the beginning arc for all their characters, and then someone just retconned it through the romances and like the social links.
But I think there's something we're not quite hitting on here, and it's the fact of how damaging this is. Think about it. So, you have these characters, these obviously, overtly queer characters. Like, in their initial presentation, there's no doubt. Probably the most sheltered people could figure these two out, you know?
I mean, just the reactions from the rest of your party going through Kanji's dungeon, like,
Right?
the boys are very uncomfortable.
So, young queer kid, probably, well, no, I mean, they're adult games, but, you know, youngish person.
The 17 is young.
17?
I think I played my first Persona game, I was like maybe 15 or something, so like...
Yeah, like, teenager.
Yeah.
So, probably still figuring out sexuality stuff, sees these characters, identifies with these characters, plays through the story because they're invested, and at the last minute are told, no. You gotta be heteronormative.
Present heteronormative, date heteronormative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, you can have whatever feelings you have, but too bad. This is where you have to end up.
Too bad. So sad. You cannot be happy being the person you are.
And I'll just say, like, I don't know if it's just solely because of BioWare, but Western RPGs seems to have escaped this trap a little bit more easily in the last few years.
I think it's mostly because of BioWare. I mean...
Culturally, maybe, as well? I don't know.
I think there's a cultural influence there, too, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know enough to talk to it in depth, but I've gathered there's still some...
Yeah, same.
Some issues that we've dealt with culturally that, you know, parts of Japan are still struggling with.
Yeah. I mean, but like representation is so important in media. Like I like still only in probably the last year have publicly come out as bi. I used to facilitate groups for work, and I would sit around in the circle, and I'd be like, when they get to me, I'm gonna say, you know, I'm bi, whatever. It's not a big deal. I'm just gonna introduce it as part of things, so I know it's okay. And every time it get to me, I would just be like, I can't say it. I would just default, right?
Yeah.
And it's just when you see in my case, only bi characters are just sexual deviants who want to fuck literally anything that moves, or they're like criminals and like violent perpetrators of crimes, and it's just like, well, I don't want to be that. And like to have a character like Kanji or Naoto who's dealing with gender dysphoria, or like who is dealing with like becoming and feeling gay, like, and then just to be told like no. Like you lose that chance to see somebody and see yourself, and it's so important to be able to understand where you are.
And think about how little sense this makes for a set of games that is entirely based around discovering yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the central theme of all of these games.
Yeah.
And like, especially, I don't know, like, you're right, with Persona 4, I don't know, like, Persona 5, they seem to manage to, like, just skirt around it so hard, like, we're not even gonna go there, we're just not, right? But,
Yeah.
like, for Persona 4, it seems very hard, like, they were like, yeah, we have these really clear concepts of where we want to take these characters, and then somebody came in, like, closer to the end and was like, no, you can't take them in those directions, you just can't. That's not something we can do. It feels very much like something was either retconned later, which rumors about, you know, Yusuke's romance tree being pulled would suggest, but also like it just, who do they think they're fucking fooling?
Yeah.
It's like the world's worst magic trick.
Yes.
Yeah. Like
It's like you tried to do that, like, you know, that glass trick where you like hide the ball under a glass and you like turn it all around, except the glasses are fucking clear and you can see the ball the entire time.
And then they keep arguing to you that like, no, it's over here. You're like, but I can see it.
It's very
in
clearly being gay in the left glass.
Yeah, it's like, no. It's heteronormative in the right. You're very confused.
Right?
It's ridiculous. And then, I mean, this goes back to an episode. I want to introduce another one that I don't think anyone in the group may have thought of. But if you're going to give us the choice of romances, give us choice. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, let us date the guys. Give us a queer, give us queer options.
Yeah, and it's a game. If you don't want to engage with it, don't engage with it. Like, it's not, it's literally the farthest thing from being forced on you. Like, calm down people who are terrible.
If you don't want to play the easy mode, you don't have to. Oops, did I say that out loud?
Oh. Yeah, exactly.
Come and get us, internet.
So there's another situation. There's another example, not Persona 4 related, that I want to discuss at least briefly, and it is .hack GU.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's not strictly queer baiting, but it comes so close to it.
Within a hair's breadth.
Within a hair's breadth, yeah. I mean, I love that the fact that you could do the wedding event with Entrance, thus making both Entrance and Haseo canonically bi.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
at least.
But the story, one of the story scenes in the end, really does imply that he has feelings for Adelie.
What? Why? She's the worst.
I'm like,
she's not even cool.
I know. Like,
she's not even a good character.
I know. It wouldn't be like, it would still be bad if it was one of the likable female characters, even Alcade, who you could make an argument for that couple.
Yeah, I agree. It's just like it's like Entrance is amazing, and what?
Yeah.
So
and in essence, what the games do is they give us a choice for a queer relationship and then implies your choice doesn't matter. I don't know if it was deliberate or bad writing. I mean, regardless, I guess it's bad writing. But it is just, why do that? Why do that?
Well, this was back. I'm going to just backtrack and say this was back in the PS2 days. So it might have just been, I don't want to say like a limitation of the software, but just like very rarely attempted prior and was just very clumsily handled.
No, it's a badly written scene at the end.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like it was badly handled. Like it's instead of like, oh, we should put in the person that you romanced here, it's always Adelie.
Yeah.
So they didn't think of it.
Well, the thing is, the scene is written so much that it almost can't be anyone but Adelie and makes sense. And because it's him, it's him talking to Shino and, things are kind of weird and she shows up and then leaves and then she basically urges him to go after Adelie. And I'm sorry, but how else am I supposed to be able to interpret this? Like, the scene is him basically making a choice between Shino and Adelie, and the only way that makes sense is if there's feelings involved.
It's like, okay, well, like, I very clearly, like, had a romance established with Endrance, and now, like, there's a scene where it's like, yeah, go after her, and say what? Should I invite her to the reception? Like, Endrance and I aren't really into thirds? Like, I don't know what to say!
It's like sometimes people like do this like whole like games are a choose your own adventure novel, but then they're like, you didn't make the exact decision I was going to make as the player. And it's like, no, you told me I could make whichever decision I wanted.
It's a choose your own adventure novel where like you get to the last page is like, okay, pick who you fall in love with, and they all lead to the same page, and it's like, yeah, it's Adelie.
Like one of my favorite, and this is like a total aside about like a friend of mine who was playing Dragon's Dogma when it originally came out, and there's a thing in that where like the person you have the highest, I think, reputation or something with gets kidnapped and you have to save them, and they kind of have this like slow motion running towards you scene of like drama, and my friend had done the plot mostly with this like old like mean guy who like ran this like mill, so there's this like weird romance where he's like running to you, and I'm like, hey, I mean, like, if the way you're doing this is by who you spent the most time with, good on you for going for it. Right?
I'm sorry, that's just hilarious. It's supposed to be like this big, like, romantically charged scene.
Right, it's
clearly just this, like, impossibly old man.
Right, like, it's supposed to be this beautiful princess, and instead it's, like, this old merchant man who's just, like, been, like, really mean to everybody.
Oh my god, it's amazing. I shouldn't laugh, but like the incongruity of the way the scene was designed,
right?
And what would have been more appropriate for that character.
But on the flip side, they're like, this is the rule. The rule is whoever spend the most time with is the person you're gonna romance. And like, at least they didn't add in things where they're like, but it has to be a girl character, because like it's always so weird. Like you have to add in the option to be like gendered and like all these like weird rules. It's harder to do that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, this is why, you know how the original The Sims was really revolutionary in the fact that, like, basically everyone was bisexual and it was just whatever you chose for how to pair the Sims up and whatever. It's just because they didn't code gender preference.
Right?
Oops. That's, well, lean in now.
Lean into it, Sims. Lean into it.
Just go with it. Just go.
We're getting Pride content in a couple of days. There's flags.
Yeah, that's great. I love how they were probably like, oh shit, we totally meant to do that. You can just see them all like looking around the table like, yes, this was on purpose.
No, actually, if I remember correctly, I believe it was.
That's amazing.
It was just like, we'll just slide this under the radar.
Right.
Also awesome.
Yeah. It's the right way to do it. Don't make a big deal of it. It just is, because people are just who they are, and like making weird arbitrary like rules that define it doesn't work in the real world.
Well, actually, this is leading into my second question, which is, now that we're good and angry about this video game trope, and we pointed out some examples, like, how can the problem be solved? So, like, and I think we're starting to get there. It's like, just do it. Just lean in. You want to have a character maybe possibly be queer? Just do it. A lot of Western games have done this with barely a blip on the radar. And not just like BioWare games with romances, where in Inquisition, both Dorian and Sarah are only romanceable by players of the same gender. So they are they're homosexual, just NPCs, that's it. But most of the other characters are romanceable by either gender, though some of them are, coded straight as well. I actually liked that little mix. Where it's these particular people are straight, these particular people are gay, and everybody else in the middle is bisexual. And I was like, that's actually not too bad. That's not a bad way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go even further back and to games like Borderlands 2, there's no romances to be had at all. It's a first-person shooter. It's a looter shooter. There's just nothing but violence and explosions and guns. But there is a character, Sir Hammerlock, whom you meet right out of the gate, Borderlands 2, and just as he's talking, as you do his side quests, and as you do jobs for him, and you learn more about him, he just casually refers to his ex-boyfriends. That's it. It's no big deal. He's yeah, my ex-boyfriend and I, we used to go here, we used to study this, or I dated this one guy way back when, and he was he just very nonchalantly talks about his past relationships at times, when it's relevant to whatever it is you're doing. And he's this super British explorer type with a safari helmet and everything. He's not even stereotypically represented. He's got a huge British mustache. He looks almost a caricature of a safari explorer from 1850. And this is a first person shooter from 2012. Also, just as a side note, that game had a lot of great things to do with body positivity as well, but that's a whole other topic. And I will save Ellie for that because she is amazing. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, different markets and all, but it's 2019. Okay, Atlus, listen to me. Just between you and me. Let me romance the boys as Akira and Persona 5 The Royal. I want Yusuke very specifically. Just fucking do it.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree about Yusuke though. He's not my love. I'm gonna have to go for Yuji. That boy just needs me.
No, I gotta take care of the crazy art nerd. He's gonna hurt himself. He's going to hurt himself if I don't.
More than and it's so, I don't even know what made me feel this way, but as I was playing Persona 5, I was just Akira's clearly gay.
Right?
Clearly gay. And the whole time I'm just why can't I hit on the boy? Are we Persona, come on.
I don't know, he's just he feels not straight. It's sort of
right?
the same vibe I get off Yusuke. I'm he's not straight. There's no way. There just isn't.
I just want to help Ryuji with his daddy issues. That's all I need.
Well, there is that whole. Did you play through Yusuke's social link far enough to get the scene in the boat? Yeah. In the rowboat where you're rowing and the sisters this woman's but are they on a date? Some people are just like that, sis, and you're yep, they think I'm his boyfriend. Just row the boat.
Give him a ring. Do it now.
Just propose. Just do it. I know you're only 5 steps in, but just propose.
But going back to how can you fix this? I think a good example that I love the Mass Effect series so much, and I always played female Shepard, but I dated Caden in the first game, and you couldn't do that as a guy in the first game. But when they made the third game, they flat out made it be that you could romance Caden, and it became this whole I didn't realize how I felt about you until you were gone, and I want to be with you now. So they took this character they've already established where there was a little bit of people wanted to be with him and you clearly have a connection, and then they just said, okay, yeah, actually he wasn't kind of aware of where he was feeling at that time, and now you can do that romance. You could even go back.
And there is a way for this character to just be I'm, you know what, I wasn't real people come out at all different times in their lives as well, so I don't necessarily think that having somebody who is established straight at the beginning is not necessarily grounds for them to not say you know what, maybe I'm not. People come to terms with that kind of stuff throughout their entire lives.
Yeah, absolutely. So you don't, even if you were oh crap, I accidentally wrote this thing in a book or in a game or whatever where this character we had this opportunity to go into this and we didn't, you can still fix that. That's what sequels are for.
Yeah, same folks as Dragon Age as well. I will point out the Mass Effect folks, and I really love the way they handled romances in Inquisition, but I also love the way they handled some of the NPCs in Inquisition, which made some of the handling of Mass Effect Andromeda very strange. Because it was, there's one NPC in Dragon Age Inquisition, Krem.
Yes, Crumb. I love Crumb.
He's not romanceable,
Nope.
but like as you get to know Iron Bull and his Chargers, it becomes very clear that Krem is a trans man. And Iron Bull does not give one single solitary fuck about what he was born as. Krem is a man, and he treats him like one.
Right? Oh, Bull, you're so great.
Right? Also, Iron Bull's whole romance subplot is amazing because it's like, hey, kids, we're going to talk to you about, like, BDSM and bondage. It'll be awesome.
And, like, super consensual, super, like the giant hulking.
Healthy BDSM,
right?
what it looks like.
And he's just a cool dude.
He really is. I'm like, wow, BioWare, you did such a good job. I think I literally might clap myself to death here. And then, I don't know, they just sort of, like, tripped over Andromeda. I'm not quite sure what they were doing.
I mean, and all their games are a little bit different. Like in like Regional Mass Effect, they had like one gay option, one bi option, or one like I don't know. Anyways, kind of weird how.
Yeah, it was the same thing with original Dragon Age. They had two options that were straight and two options that were bisexual.
Right, and then like in 2, like Dragon Age 2, they made everybody bisexual. Like
except for like 2 characters.
Yeah, they've tried all these different ways of doing it, and they all work pretty well as long as they're being authentic about it.
Yeah, I actually that's why I was like, I actually really liked the way they did it in Inquisition, where you had like the minority of characters were either homosexual or heterosexual strictly, and the rest of them were somewhere in the middle, because that opens up the most options for the player, but it also is like, yes, gay people exist. And they can't exist despite like the player's choice. Mm-hmm. The player's choice does not make Dorian gay. Dorian was always gay. Yeah. Sarah was always gay. Like,
right, and whether or not you see them in a relationship, their gender or their sexual preferences like are what they are.
Exactly. I actually really liked that. I was like, you know what? I was sad that I couldn't romance Cullen as a boy, but you know what? If his preferences are women, then like fine. I have a lot of other options.
Yeah.
And it's not like I've been like, frozen out of all the queer content that I could possibly have. It's just, I was like, oh, well, that's unfortunate. It is kind of unfortunate. It's like, this one character I really wanted to romance, I just can't because, the writers wrote him that way, but like, fair enough.
It's just like real life.
It's just like real life.
Like, why couldn't you just be gay? Never mind. I know.
That's like saying, why couldn't I just be straight?
Right? Yeah. You're like, okay, fair enough. All right.
Yeah.
This is going to be a super long episode, but we're still not done.
No, because now it's Sky's turn on how we fix this bullshit.
Okay. Yes, obviously everything we've already been talking about. But don't just lean in. Lean in well. None of this half-assed bullshit. Now, I'm not saying that queer romances have to be all over everything. But what I am saying is if you're going to do straight romances, put in the same amount of effort for the queer romances. This is one of the things I liked about Suikoden 5. They don't show much, but there is absolutely zero doubt about what's going on with Lucretia and Lele. They are clearly a couple.
Cousins. They're cousins. Sorry.
Near the end, there's literally there's a scene where there's no... Lele is propositioning Lucretia.
Like they're clearly kissing cousins, Sky. Jeez.
The thing is, if you don't want romances to have a big part in your story, that's fine. But show queer people. Show them as they exist. You don't have to have all sorts of scenes with them, but make it obvious that they are who they are.
Yeah.
And there's no mistaking what was going on with Lucretia and Lele, but, that series does not focus on romance in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's a series about war, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so they didn't with anybody. But, they made it very clear that those two were not just teacher and student. Now, don't get me, these are two adults. Lily was kind of the usual sort of student strategist, the secondary strategist to the main one. If you give the hetero stuff lots of play, give the queer stuff lots of play as well. Whatever that level of play is, that's appropriate for your story. Give us quality for the amount of stuff you want to put in. And also, write some goddamn trans people. It's not that hard. If you actually talk to trans people, you can write trans characters. Not that fucking hard.
No,
Krem,
I mean,
Krem is a good character.
right, and like Krem is like could have been a nothing character. Like they could have completely just been like,
yeah, Krem's a boy.
Krem doesn't matter, and that
assigned male at assigned male at birth. But now they've made this really interesting character.
Right, like how much better is Krem for being like an interesting character who's faced like these things in life and like is and has a community and has built their own community. Like you took this character that was nothing and made them into something like way more interesting.
It also says something good about, like more central characters like Iron Bull. It says something good about the Inquisitor. And it also tells a story about like Tevinter society as well, because Krem was originally from Tevinter, and you get a little bit of that with Dorian as well, but like you don't see Tevinter ever, and it's really enlightening to see how prescriptive it is there. Mm-hmm. Just in terms of like sexual orientation, gender identity, like it's extremely conservative. So you get all between Krem and Dorian, you get all of these little like cultural hints about Tevinter that you never would have gotten otherwise.
Right? Like, I don't know. I'm just thinking of like Dorian's plot and like dealing with his dad and stuff is just like, wow. Like I remember the first time I heard what the plot of Dorian's backstory was, and I was just like, holy crap.
Yeah, like that was fucking messed up. Like his
wow.
Like, for those who are unaware, Dorian's father attempted to use blood magic to basically make him straight.
Like, blood magic conversion therapy.
Yeah. Ugh. Magical conversion therapy.
Right?
So Dorian fucked off, which is what he should have done.
Damn right.
Yep. And ended up with the Inquisitor. So...
Well, and then, you have to, like, convince him to go talk to his dad. And I'm like, when I found out what happened, I was like, oh, wow. Like, maybe this wasn't my place.
Yeah, well, like, he actually he up and up tells you that his father is mad at him for being, he straight up tells you that he doesn't want to talk to his dad, but you don't have, there are options to play that as saying, like, look, your dad has contacted you, what you want to do with this is up to you, and if you want me to go with you, I will. Like, you basically say, like, here's your choice, I'm not making it for you. Mm-hmm. There is a way to play that is a little bit less shitty. And actually, it's kind of it makes it kind of interesting because then it goes in and it's that whole scene is just Dorian like, yes, I showed up here to tell you to fuck off to your face.
Yeah. Who's in the background like, whoa, Dorian, do it.
Yeah, and like I was playing the Inquisitor, like he was flirting hard with Dorian that whole time. So when he finally comes out with the library, he's like, yes, I prefer the company of men. I was like, me too. And he was like, no. What was I hiding it? You are not subtle. I was like, oh shit. Like, I've seen that scene both ways where, like, if you agree with him and you haven't flirted with him that much, he just kind of, like, is like, Anda, what? Like, he stops and, like, looks at you like, oh, well, shit.
Yeah,
we'll handle this later, but you.
Like, including these characters and doing them well makes people be seen, right? Like, they feel seen. Representation is important. And Atlus, what you did with Naoto is infuriating, and I hate you for it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I still love Persona, but oh my god.
You could start making it up to us by making all the characters romanceable in Persona 5 for the Royal, just saying.
Also, sorry, I feel like I have something to contribute this time.
Excellent.
Yay!
I actually want to give a shout out to Sega for their Yakuza game.
Sorry.
Yep. Oh, that's fine.
Have to do it.
Yes!
I made a deal with a demon at some point.
Fair enough. But no, for their Yakuza games, The reason I bring this up goes back to Sky's point about trans representation. I do not remember her name at this point, but there was a trans bartender in the games, and she had a beautiful side quest storyline, and I remember it being really fantastic.
Oh, it was like she went by Mama, I think. Just
Yeah, I think you're right.
I remember her. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think she had either Kiryu or Majima. I don't even remember which game this was. I think it was Kiwami 2. I don't remember, but like she had helped her he helped her find somebody, and they had this like nobody seemed to care in the end. Like she tried to explain herself for how she's living because Mama was like a former family member, if I remember it right. But I don't remember. But I remember it being an incredibly well done scene, and I gotta give props to Sega for doing that. So
Yeah, like it just makes the whole queer baiting thing, to loop everything back around, just more insidious when you invest a queer person who's starved for representation. You get them attached to these characters and then, pull this bait and switch bullshit. It's just so infuriating.
And it's like, who do you think you're fooling?
Yeah.
No, seriously, who do you think you're fooling?
Well, exactly.
I did not walk away from Persona 4 entirely convinced Kanji was not gay. I walked away from Persona 4 going like, fuck, that kid is so in the closet, he's finding Christmas presents.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Like he's not done his journey. That was where kind of I ended it with like, okay, well this kid is like 15 and like this is the answer in his life right now, but that does not mean it always will be.
Yeah, it's like Naoto's like, Naoto will someday, 10 years from now, look back on, and I will go with her because it's the pronouns that she used in the game, on her behavior when she was a teenager, saying like, yes, I'll be a girl for you, and go like, fuck, why the fuck did I do that?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, teenagers make interesting decisions, but
it's like the eggiest thing to ever egg.
Yes, it is. Mel, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like, and there's so many things to talk about. Like, there's so many different characters and like plots and things. I think
video games get this wrong a lot. We can be here for a while.
Like, I think the one that I was going to mention is Life is Strange, which has I mean, even like it's pretty clear that in this game, your, I don't know, not romance option. How do you refer to this? Like, what do you call this person? Your quote unquote best friend?
Chloe?
Chloe, yes. Like, what do you, Chloe, like, definitely had a thing for Rachel. Like, it seems pretty clear. And there's even a scene where you and Chloe kiss, but it's like played off like a joke. Like, Chloe's like, you wouldn't kiss me. And then you do. And it's like, okay, but like, they're not gay. They're best friends, you know? And it's just like, I think the main thing is just like, be like authentic. Just like, if you're going to do it, just do it. Just be sincere in your attempt to be inclusive. And like, even if you screw up, people will read that inclusivity and that like honest, sincere want to do good.
Yeah, honestly, like I shout a little bit on Mass Effect Andromeda because like they did like the trans character they had in Andromeda was strange. After following their like expert handling of a character like Krem, it was very strange to have an NPC be like so. Like,
I can't even remember who it is. Who's the trans character in Andromeda?
So it's not even someone that relevant. There's there's an NPC that gives you a quest, but like she dead names herself to you, and you're a perfect fucking stranger. Like you can ask her like why she came to the Andromeda Galaxy, and she explains that like she's trans and she dead names herself. I'm like, okay,
right.
A lot of trans people at the time were like, okay, trans people don't fucking do that, and it's really strange BioWare because like Krem is really good. What happened?
What did you do?
What did you like? Maybe different writers, but like you had this. What happened? Mm-hmm. It didn't get quite as much like shit as some of the other stuff because BioWare's got like a better track record, and it's like okay, well they tried and they didn't do as well as they. It was a sincere attempt, therefore like okay. You know?
Right. And there is one, I remember there's the Turian Pathfinder is gay. I remember liking him, but again, not enough is done with that character. Like they do so much to just kind of like like he is, but we're never gonna it's never gonna matter because we've killed off his love interest.
Yeah, and that's a whole other trope we could spend an episode on, but
Yeah, no shit. Like, I think we should probably wrap up, though, because we are running long. This was a long episode, but we had a lot to say about this. So, so Mel, as you're our guest, where can people find you and your stuff if they want to check out more of your stuff?
You can find me lots of fun places, such as Instagram and Facebook, and I have a podcast as well, and I will be starting Twitter tomorrow, which it won't take too long. But you can find me at Feminist Gamer. A lot of the stuff I focus on is representation of basically anyone who isn't just a cis het male, like just trying to be more inclusive of other experiences in game design, in playing games, and all those kind of things. I am working on designing my own RPG, so I talk a bit about that experience as well. And safety tools in gaming as well is another thing I'm going to be starting up next week. So yeah, check it out. And I'm around.
Awesome. And Sky, where can people find you?
I'm at SkyKnightXP on Twitter and Twitch. I stream weekly, Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. EST.
Awesome. And Rayfe, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at BillionairesXP. You can find me on Instagram at Rayfe, as well as Twitch under the same name. I stream Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. EST.
All right. And for those of you who are interested in any of my content, I'm at irogue_XP on Twitter and Twitch, and I stream on Thursday nights.
Don't forget, you'll have the transcript of our episode, courtesy of the XP Hobo, within the next couple of days, and that will be up on our website, xpbillionaires.wordpress.com.
Yeah, we're big on accessibility here.
Absolutely.
Woohoo!
All right, well, thanks everybody, and just keep gaming as usual. Bye!
Thanks, bye!
Bye.